Hi and welcome back to my channel. February is over and that means I've been studying Korean for a whole month already. I've been wanting to study Korean forever, and at the beginning of the year I finally decided that this year was finally gonna be the year. Now, I know that a month was not a lot of time, so I don't have too much to report. There are some areas that I'll definitely have to work on over the next couple of weeks, but I think some areas I'm doing pretty well. This is actually not my first time learning Korean. I've learned Korean in the past, and I never really got past the LingQ Hangul lessons. I think I got to like lesson 3 or something. But that has been a few years back, so the first thing I wanted to do is brush up on my Hangul reading. Unfortunately, I found out that LingQ is now a fully paid service, and I was not really willing to pay for an app that provides resources that I can essentially find online for free. So I decided to not go with Duolingo this time. I didn't really set any goals specifically for the first month, but I just wanted to brush up on my Hangul, which I did. I just looked at some charts online and watched some YouTube videos. I went over the IPA just to make sure that I kind of know the sounds, or that I'm not mistaking the sounds for other sounds. And I wanted to get started on the Refold Korean 1K deck, which I also did. I also wanted to get a little bit into grammar, and originally I thought that I was gonna do that with the How to Learn Korean website, but I found a grammar book collecting dust on my shelf as I came back to Germany, and I figured I'd just use that first to get some basic grammar knowledge. I will, however, move on to the How to Learn Korean website pretty soon. Other than that, I didn't set any immersion goals, which I definitely should have because I have not done enough of that in my opinion. Okay, let me go over the exact numbers for this month. There is obviously not too much since it's only the first month, but I thought I'd share them with you anyways. So as I said, the first day I reviewed the alphabet and I set up my Anki since I haven't used Anki in a long time, and I had to make quite a few updates and adjustments and everything. I said I was gonna start the Refold Korean 1K deck, which I did buy for $5. You can get that from their Patreon. And I started with 13 cards a day, then moved it up to 20 to 25 cards a day, and then moved it back to about 10 to 15 cards a day. I am at a total of 400 cards learned now, and 14 of those are leeches, so those cards I just could not remember, but that's fine. My goal is not to remember them perfectly, but to just get an idea of what the word could mean when I see it in my immersion. Which is also one of the reasons why I'm only at 70% retention, because I don't care about memorizing them perfectly, but just to familiarize myself with the word. I spend about 10 to 15 minutes a day on Anki. I just try to literally go through them as fast as I can. I don't want to spend like an hour on Anki every day. If I know a card, I'll mark it as no, and if I don't know a card, I'll just fail it, and I don't really care. One more thing though, I have set my cards in a way that I see them twice a day. I see new cards once in the morning when I do my first round of reps, and I will do my reviews, and then I see new cards again in a couple hours after that, so that I see new cards about twice a day. I feel like so far that's been working pretty well for me, because it literally only adds like another 2 minutes to my Anki, and I generally feel like I can remember them better the next day if I've seen them again in the afternoon. Okay, so as I just said, I also found a grammar book. It's in German for learning Korean, and it is divided into a vocabulary section, a grammar section, and a communication section. I'm skipping basically the whole vocabulary section because I don't see a point. I already get my vocab from my immersion and from Anki, and it's literally just a list of words on a certain topic. Then the grammar sections, I'm working through them one by one. They also have like little exercises that I do to practice my handwriting, but also to practice my reading a little bit. But so I hope to be done with that in about a week, I guess. It's only 25 chapters, and each chapter is literally only on like 1 or 2 things, so they're really short. They're only like 2 pages. And so far I've gone through, I think, 7 chapters. The communication part I might actually go back to in a couple of months when I start my speaking or writing practice, just to get some like language building blocks that I can use in a conversation. And then my last set that I have for you is my immersion, which is not too much. I found this Korean comprehensible input channel, which is honestly a lifesaver. It's so nice to see the words in Anki and then see them again in the video with they have little drawings, and I'll link the channel down in the description if you want to check that out. It's really good and it's so encouraging to see words that you have already seen in Anki. But as I said, I feel like I should probably schedule a little more time for that, as I've not watched too many of their videos yet, and I should definitely be doing that. Okay, so that's that for everything that I've done and the stats. Let's move on to the comprehension test, which in my case is probably not going to be a comprehension test, but more of a can I actually read anything and understand even a single word? Because that's currently the level that I'm at. So I'll insert a short clip of me reading something on LingQ in about a second, and I'll just read it out loud, and my reading is going to be really bad, but that's okay, and it's going to be really slow, but I'll see if I can recognize any words, if I can piece together any sentences, just to give you an idea how little I can do after a month, essentially. 저도 서울에 살아요. 그런데 그 형은 부산이에요. 학생이세요? 네, 저는 한국대학교에 네, 저는 한국대학교에 다녀요. 지연 씨도 학생이세요? 아니요, 저는 회사원이에요. 무슨 이름 하세요? 저는 컴퓨터 인지니어예요. 컴퓨터 인지니어. 컴퓨터 엔지니어예요. Alright. I too live in Seoul, I guess. And then, but I don't know what this means. But my hometown, okay, but my hometown is in Busan. Are you a student? Yes, I am a oh, so 대학교 is like 다이가쿠, like university. I see. And 학교 is the normal university. That's interesting. So at the University of Korea, I guess this is the name. Oh, and I've seen this before in the Korean 1K deck too, this form. But I've not seen this form before, so I didn't know what that meant. And then, are you a student too? No, I am a kaishain, like a worker, an office worker. And then, what? Oh, what work? Okay, it's so weird because I've seen il before, but with the particle, I thought this was like one word, and so I thought 일을, but then it's just il, and I know what il is, but I don't know what it is with the particle. That's really trippy. So what work do you do? I guess this is like the hada form, but this is like the hada verb, just in another form. As I already said, I don't know all these forms. I don't know what they are. I definitely gotta figure that out. But what work do you do? I am a computer engineer. And this word tripped me up a lot. Okay, now that we're done with that, let's move on to my reflection. So, as I said at the beginning of the video, I think that some areas are going pretty well. I think my Anki and word learning is going pretty solid. 400 words in a month is not too bad, even though my retention is pretty low, but I already explained that I'm just literally trying to get through as many words as I possibly can while also retaining a somewhat decent retention so that I can then start to watch and read stuff like real stuff instead of just seeing stuff in Anki. I do feel like 25 words a day is getting a lot, and even 20 words a day I feel like it's gonna be quite a lot as I will be quite busy in March, I think. So from now on, I just want to go through about 10 words a day so that I can be done with the deck at the 3 months mark. I think that once I reach about 500 words in Anki, I will go to LingQ and try to read again more regularly. There are beginner stories, I just have to find them. I haven't really looked into it yet, but that's definitely something I want to try because reading is really, really good for learning more words and just seeing a lot of the words, getting a lot of repetition in. On top of that, obviously, I also have to step up my grammar game a little bit because right now I'm quite a little behind on all the verb forms is what is currently especially confusing. But I think that once I figured out how the verbs kind of conjugate and how all the different verb forms come to be, I think it will be quite a bit easier to understand what sentences are trying to say. Now, one thing that I noticed as I was learning the words is that a lot of the words sound really, really similar to me. And I don't mean sound as in they sound literally the same, because I can hear the difference between and ah. But it's just that they look so similar and they sound so similar that if I don't pay really close attention to the way that I remember them, I will remember them just as a kind of a sound, which is really not what I should be doing because and are obviously different sounds. I think the hardest sound that make me struggle the most is these 3 sounds and all the other ones, where basically they sound different in isolation, but they don't sound too different when they're in words, or like it's really hard for me to hear the difference, and it's even harder for me to like say them out loud or like produce the difference. And one last thing I just really quickly want to mention, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, but I am also learning Japanese, or rather I have been learning Japanese for the last 4.5 years. So I do know that quite a bit better than Korean, but I noticed that some words are quite similar and it is actually helping me a lot. What I wish I could do was learn Korean words with their kanji because I feel like that would help a lot, because sometimes you do get words that are similar and you can see that they come from the same kanji, but obviously since Korean doesn't use kanji anymore, I can't see the kanji. At the same time, obviously I don't want to rely on the kanji to understand the words, so that's something I'll have to figure out what the best way to remember words without kanji is. Okay, that's it for all the reflections and thoughts I have. Now last, I just very briefly want to mention what I've planned for the next 2 to 3 months, because I don't think there will be a 2-month update as there's not too much changing, I don't think. But there will be a first quarter of learning Korean update. So basically, I'll set the goals until then. I already said I want to get through the 1K Korean deck, which should be totally doable. That's 10 cards a day, and I think I can get through that. I definitely also want to be reading. By the 3 months mark, I want to be reading either on LingQ or Migaku. I'll see which one is better for Korean, but I definitely want to get into the habit of reading, even if it's like literally only a page a day. If that's all I can manage and if I actually learn something from that, I want to do that. And I definitely want to up my Korean audio input because it has been really low for this first month, which is totally fine. I'm just getting used to everything. But I definitely want to spend a little more time every day listening to Korean YouTube or dramas. I think 30 minutes for now should be perfectly fine. 30 to 45 minutes, that's like 3 to 4 videos, and so then in total that's like 40 minutes of YouTube, 20 minutes of Anki, and then maybe 10 to 20 minutes of grammar study, and then another 10 to 20 minutes of reading. So that's 1.5 hours every day. I think that is super doable. And that's it for this update video. I'm honestly still super excited about this whole journey. I'm so excited to like be able to fluently read Korean and to be able to write Korean with like the cute pretty handwriting. But I know obviously that it is a very long journey and I'm not in a rush to be there in half a year. I hope you enjoyed this update. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you have any advice for me or something I should try out, then let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you again for my 3 months update video.